This podcast is intended for educational purposes only and is not intended to replace therapeutic services of any kind. Please refer to the list of references provided if you need support. Okay, welcome to another episode of Sessions with Sara Cate and Ashley. This is going to be a follow-up episode to our last sesh that focused on somatic work and the vocabulary around that. So constructs, categories, what's the difference between a sensation, an emotion, and a feeling? And then how do we kind of start to identify sensations in your body? How do we start to understand where they live? What's the location? What's the size? What's the shape? What's the texture? All of these different things. Again, remembering that for some of us, there's not an accessibility to the body or a capacity to engage with your body in a way where you focus on sensation. So really honoring where you're at in your process and in your relationship to your body as we kind of talk about this stuff today. We wanted to do this episode to elaborate on how you would actually use that terminology. So you have the sheets and the forms that you can download from the show notes. But how you would actually start to work with sensation in your body, potentially in a session. So this is going to be a really loose play on what a session would look like that I would do with a client around sensation in their body. Ashley walked in today with an incredible dream and was Googling on her way in the meaning of the significance of said experience in the dream to determine if it was positive or negative, because the poor girl has had some definite car trouble recently, and so I think she's trying to figure out if what's in the air, right? This week is a full moon. I mean, there's a lot going on. So we're gonna use Ashley's dream because I really honestly came into session today not feeling super inspired. I'll be transparent. Noticing kind of a heaviness and a density in my body. I'm working through some pretty big crisis cases in my own private practice. And Ashley came in with this levity and this lightness. And I was like, I think my impulse is to go towards this. So rather than going towards a particularly maybe difficult or uncomfortable sensation and focusing on kind of some we would consider more intensive trauma work, I don't think to bring that into this space would be altogether that useful, in the sense that we can get triggered by other people's stuff. Vicarious trauma is real. If something hits a little too close to home, that can kind of maybe bring up some stuff for us. So I thought this dream would be a really great way to share this with you all, to bring, to kind of bring some clarity to how somatic sessions can look. This is just specific to me and my practice. This is not across the board. Every practitioner is different. But to use this light treat, this snack of a dream, if you will, to show you kind of how to work with sensation, to move through sensation. This would best be done with a practitioner and someone who can support you in this space if the content's a little bit more difficult. But this is actually some of what you'll hear me ask and prompt is what I do with my own body when I'm having a huge sensation come up and I'm noticing something, like let's say it's my anxiety and let's say it's in my chest and it's really constricting and tight. I will kind of do this line of questions to myself of like, and where do I notice something different in my body? And I'll walk myself through it a little bit. So this can be done on your own as sensations do arise and as you get more and more familiar with your sensations. However, it is, if there's something difficult there, it is really important to have support and to have someone to kind of anchor and guide you, so that way something doesn't get a little bit too intense or it takes you too far down a road you don't want to go. So always, we don't know what's going to come up in this session. I have no idea what we are about to unlock from Ashley's unconscious. But you are in for quite a story. So I think we should begin by just asking, what was your dream about? And then I'll kind of pause you and ask you questions as we go, and we'll see what you noticed and what sensations reveal themselves.
Okay.
I mean, there's always a risk that for our personal shit comes in. There's always a risk.
Which is why I was Googling.
Which is such a great place to find information.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so I was in a park, a city park.
Remember, this is a dream.
This is a dream. This is a dream.
To clarify.
But a very real.
Yeah, vivid.
A very vivid, real, to me, dream.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a city park, grass and trees.
Yeah.
Is what I could see. I don't know what city park or where I was at. Location wise. But I was there with people that in my dream I knew them, but it wasn't anybody that I recognized. And and then there was an older woman who I did not know, and I knew in the dream that I did not know her. And she had to tell me. She had to
bless this old woman.
Tell me that I had baby squirrels in my pants. And I was wearing gray sweatpants.
How many?
5.
5 baby
There were 5 mini baby squirrels in my pants. And then she had to tell me. So I took my pants. I took my pants off in the middle of the park to get the squirrels out. And I was happy to do so. And I wasn't afraid of the squirrels, but then she goes, yeah, this guy is really hanging on. He was biting me, but I couldn't feel it. And she had to wiggle this squirrel free from my leg.
Off of your leg.
My left leg. It was my left leg.
Your left leg. Okay,
my
interesting.
left leg.
Okay.
I vividly remember that. And I vividly remember looking down and being like, yeah, he's biting me. Teeth were sunk in. But I did
not feel it.
Didn't feel it.
Okay.
And then they kind of scurried around and left.
And
then I woke up.
Yeah, tell me about.
Or then I don't know if I woke up then, but then when I woke up this morning, I was like,
you remembered it.
I remembered it, and I was like, peculiar.
Very peculiar. So my first question, in the long list of curiosities I have, this is not. Oh, let me disclaimer this too. This is not dream work. We are not doing dream work. I'm actually going to ask Ashley some questions about her current sensations in relationship to the dream that she just shared. So good. Yeah, I want to make a distinction there because this isn't depth work or dream work here. So as you tell that story right now, I know we're giggling about the old lady and the fact that there were 5 squirrels in your pants.
Yeah.
that you didn't know about.
Yeah.
Which was my first interest, that it was biting you and you didn't know about it. So there's literally 5 squirrels in your pants. You don't have an awareness of this.
Correct.
And then a squirrel is biting you. You don't have an awareness of this.
Correct.
When you think about that kind of level of chaos from the waist down, there not being any sensation, there not being any awareness or holy shit, I have 5 squirrels in my pants. I think any of us in that moment, if that was real, would be shocked a little bit.
Yes.
So there's just this lack of connection to that. So from the bottom down, and then also it was you knew it was your left leg, which I think is significant. We'll kind of talk about that. What do you notice in your body right now in thinking about, wow, I didn't know there were this was happening?
Yeah, so it's interesting because right at the level of my belly button, across the front of my stomach, I feel, what do I feel? Something.
You're making a line with your hands. I'm curious.
It's a line. It's almost like it's, I don't know how to describe it other than a line. There's a break. Nothing below, normal up top, but this isn't the line is more intense, but I don't know I don't know what it is. Like, I can very easily describe, like, when I'm feeling anxiety, what that feels like. Like,
Exactly.
this is different, but I don't know. I just know that there's, like, a
line. You
Mhm.
said the word break. So I'm curious about when you say there's a line, do you feel like where the line is in your midsection, below it is gone, or can you sense your legs and you can sense your upper half, but there's a space between them, or are your legs gone? Can you not
So,
sense the bottom part
okay.
of your body?
So I can see that they're there. I
Right.
know that they're there. So it's not that they're gone,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't feel them.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel my upper body,
Mm-hmm.
just normal.
And
So,
tell
like,
me a little bit about what's happened when you say normal. Is there a temperature to that? So your upper body is normal. Is it settled?
yeah,
It
it
okay?
just feels like settled. Like, it feels like, I want to say, like, homeostasis. Like, it's just like
Mm-hmm.
it's good. Like, it's at homeostasis. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like I'm comfortable. I'm
Right.
not like
Right.
stressed. I'm not like heightened. I'm not like down. It's just like,
It's there.
yes, I'm
Mm-hmm.
here
Yeah.
and it's good.
So you
Yeah.
can really notice that this is feeling present
Mm-hmm.
and your upper body is functioning as it normally would.
Right.
And you can notice that you have legs below this break, below this line that you feel in your midsection. But can you sense any sensation from that line down to your feet?
No.
Interesting. Okay. Um, Tell me a little bit about what you feel in the front of your body compared to what you feel in the back of your body. So like,
Mm-hmm. So the first thing that came with that was back to that line, because I feel it on the front side. I don't feel it on the back side.
mm-hmm.
I feel the back is more, it almost, I don't know if, it almost feels like everything in my body is like rushing towards the front.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, everything is like, gotta lean forward and go forward.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Nothing is really like back there.
Interesting. So everything's got to lean forward and go forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, if we think about movement,
Mm-hmm.
our legs are a big part of our ability to take action in the world and move, and you can't notice any sensation in them.
Right.
So there's this impulse in your back body to push you forward and move and go.
But it feels like it's being pulled from the front. It doesn't feel like my back body is pushing forward. It feels like it's being pulled from the
front. Pulling.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And it's not like going down to my legs. Like, it's only it's just in this part.
That line.
That's like pulling. Yes, that's pulling forward, but that's not traveling down my legs.
Mm-hmm. And if you follow the impulse for all of that energy to pull forward to that line in your front midsection, what happens next? What sensation do you notice if all of that energy from your back body moves towards that line?
Mm-hmm.
What happens?
I'm not sure.
Does the line get quieter?
A little bit.
Mm-hmm. So when I say that, that means that I'm curious about the intensity of the line then.
So the intensity is definitely decreased.
Okay. So when you allow the impulse of the energy from your back to move to your front, that line gets a little bit quieter.
Correct.
And then tell me again what you notice about everything below the line.
There's like maybe a little bit of awareness in my pelvis, but it's still pretty much quiet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And then coming back up just to notice again and tap into the top half of your body to notice if anything's changed there, if you're still kind of just feeling it's neutral.
Yeah, I would say
perfect.
Neutral.
Okay. And then zooming back in to your back body, are you still feeling that pull towards that front line?
No.
So would you say how has that changed? Does it feel settled? Can you feel it? Can you notice your spine, your sacrum? What's happening there?
I would say it feels more settled.
Mm-hmm.
It feels a little bit more, not that it was heavy. Heavy is not how I would describe the sensation before.
Okay.
But it feels a little bit more like airy in a good way.
Mm. Like a little clarity. Or
Yeah.
a little like
Yeah.
something kind of moved out.
Right.
So it doesn't have that gravity or that density.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then tell me about that activation in that line right now.
Still much less intensity.
Okay.
More diffuse. It's not quite as sharp of a line.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely more awareness in my pelvis. Like I can feel my sacrum a bit more now. Like I can feel my sit bones on the floor.
Okay.
They feel pretty much even.
Yeah. Both sides.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's curious to me. And this is a lot of what we get to pay attention to in doing somatic work is like where we follow impulse.
Mm-hmm.
We let sensation, because we were talking about squirrels in your pants. and then we were able to notice that there's this energetic pull of this line toward from your back to your front. And the more that we let that do what it wanted to do, still noticing these other parts of your body that were more neutral, your top half is more neutral, then the sensation and the awareness could start to lower down into this part of your body that you're not really feeling connected to at the moment, where there was this line, this break from it. And so I'm curious, as you think about that, there was this rushing from your back body to the front of you. There was an inability to feel below that line before. But as we've kind of let that happen and move, what comes to your mind? What thought or
first thing?
Curiosity.
Like, what have I been holding myself back from? Wild squirrels to this.
I mean, squirrels in your pants to this.
Getting naked in a city park.
It's exhibitionist. You're an exhibitionist. Yeah, what have I been holding myself back from?
Yeah.
Because I find it so interesting that it was like, and especially because if we do think about.
Did you catch that? When you said that, what am I holding myself back from? Did you see what I just did?
No.
I just had like this huge, they might have heard it. I just had this huge like.
Oh.
Yeah.
Shift. What do you notice in your body now?
I feel, it's like it's like a, something has like come, almost like something has like, I don't know, like put their hands, I don't feel hands on me, but it's like if somebody comes behind you with like, you know, good energy and they have like their hands on your shoulders and you feel a little bit of grounding. I felt that. I felt it come from outside of me into my body. Does that make sense? Like a whoosh.
Tell me about what you feel in your legs right now.
A lot more.
To me, it feels so. This would, and again, I'm stepping outside the bounds of what it would be like in a session. I wouldn't step this far ahead with an actual client, but with you, to me, with the sigh, it shows me that there was nervous system regulation. You shifted down and back in.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Back into your body.
Yeah. It kind of is like I was like up here. I'm like pointing to above my head. For those of you who can't see me. And now I'm even much more aware of like my surroundings are much more clear.
I mean, that's nervous system shift right there.
Right.
At its finest. It's like, oh, I can see color.
Much more detail.
Yeah. I can see things.
Yeah.
Right. And it's, again, we're pulling this out of a dream, but there's so much information in our body. Like a dream is giving us content, if you will, to move towards something that is blocked. I mean, regardless of what you believe about dreams and their, you know, importance or information, they it isn't so much about what the content is. It's about what
Mhm.
I prompted and asked Ashley to notice what she felt in her body as she told the story, as she explained, and we obviously, like I said, wanted to use something a little bit lighter to kind of help keep the tension off of the content here. But it really is so cool because I do think, knowing, because I know Ashley's life and Ashley's circumstances, there's been a lot of things going on that have been
Mhm.
disruptive.
Mhm.
And I do know how that can really, as a escape, click us out of
Mhm.
our bodies, right? Like sometimes we dissociate.
Mhm.
We talked about that in one of our previous sessions of like, sometimes it just gets so overwhelming that we have to click out.
Mhm.
And so it was not surprising to me that as you tell the story of the dream, you were unaware that there were 5 squirrels rolling around in your sweatpants, but B, that one was biting you and you couldn't sense it, you couldn't feel
Yeah.
it. Someone had to tell her that. And so that automatically cued me into the fact that, like, we're not connecting in. And like, if we
Yeah.
think about our body in the kind of different quadrants, our hips down to our feet are where we could say we stay more rooted and more anchored and more connected to the earth, to the grounding, and when we ground, we always say, can you feel your feet on the floor? Like,
Mhm.
that's kind of an active practice in a lot of somatic worlds, is to like really anchor into your feet. And that's when we know, okay, someone's in their body. They can sense their
Mhm.
connection to the ground. And the fact that in your dream it wasn't there, and then when we tracked it somatically, when I asked you what you felt, from that
Mhm.
line in your midsection down, there was no connection.
Mhm.
And yeah, and I think I'm sad that I missed the sigh because I was repeating what you said.
That's okay.
But like, that sigh is a really
Yeah.
significant
But that's when
sign
I
that it's like
stopped
click.
because you were
Hmm.
having to like repeat, say all these things. And I mean, I've had sessions with her. It would have been something she would have been.
Caught.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I only know that, well, because of her.
But yeah,
She's
it was a
she's
significant
done this
sigh.
before,
It was
y'all.
a significant
Yes.
sigh.
Yeah, it was.
And it, and then I love how you said it was kind of like, placing hands, or like I could imagine like a weighted blanket,
Yeah.
or like it's this
Yeah.
settling downwards.
I also feel I feel like my energy has gone from like a chaotic, okay, so we've talked about like moving forward, or like,
Hmm.
like a chaotic, like, when you see, who was it, the Roadrunner, where he would like, like spin his feet,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
he
The
wouldn't like go
Roadrunner.
forward
Yeah.
until he was like actually planted.
Yes.
Was that him? It
Yeah.
was somebody, anyways. But I
Old Looney
feel like,
Tunes.
yeah, but I feel like I was like just spinning, like so much chaotic energy, but like
Hmm.
no productive path.
Hmm.
And then it was like, you like place on the ground, and then it's like, oh, I can go for it. I can
Hmm.
actually move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's mobilization,
Yeah.
right? Because like the disassociation clicks us out of our body
Mm-hmm.
typically, right? Again, I don't want to speak in generalized terms, but as we tend to see it, we go up and out of our bodies, we're not in it. And so then we can't mobilize, we can't take
Yeah.
action, we can't do the thing because we're actually not present to say,
Yeah.
what is it that I need to do? Like, what is my intuition telling me? What is my gut
Mm-hmm.
telling me? What is the thing that I need to do now?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, this work is just so interesting because I'm so curious what you're going to take now,
I know.
today,
Yeah.
and go do. And also, like, really tangential, but like the fact that you've had 3 flat tires,
Less than 2 months.
like, talk about stalling out. Like, it literally
Oh,
doesn't let you
yes.
move.
100%.
What is that? First of all, I mean, this is just
God
speaking to who
bless.
we are in the world, and
Yes.
the calamity that
And
follows
also,
us.
listen, whatever you need to know about flat tires,
She got you.
I also have you. Like, I could do it all,
You're like literally a mechanic now.
basically.
I would go to her.
Don't
I
do it.
Yeah, but yeah, I just, that's completely a side note. But I do, yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what maybe, and to be honest, like that kind of stuff, like, that dysregulation of not being able to go, not being able to do, being stranded, all of those
Mhm.
things, that is really alarming for our nervous system,
For
of like,
sure.
I can't do what I need to do, I don't have help, or
For
like,
sure.
how do I get help, all of that.
Okay, so this is also bringing okay, so One of the flat tires was actually on a rental car that I had because I was on the interstate and somebody's whole entire hitch fell off of their car and got lodged up and ripped a whole bunch of stuff up underneath.
Like, she sent me a picture
So-
and I was like, A, I'm so grateful you're alive. B,
Yeah.
how does this happen to you?
Right. But I know. But here's kind of the crazy thing, and this is like the reason I'm saying this is because, okay, so then I had to like wait to get a rental car. So I'm like waiting, and then I'm like, I finally get the rental car, and the next morning I wake up and there's a flat tire, like a flat, really flat, like metal to the ground, flat tire. And so it was like, okay, this is the thing that comes to mind is I've been fighting to go a direction that I'm not supposed to go. And I was using something that I wasn't supposed to be using. Like this rental car, I wasn't supposed to be using the rental car. Like I'm not supposed to be like knocking so hard on this wall that clearly isn't gonna open.
I mean, we are getting real woo-woo in here, y'all, but it is, I think like this is why I love these conversations and this work. It's because you can follow this through thread of like disconnection from your body into like what is actually sitting here. Look at all of these things that have been happening in my life. How are they interconnected? Things don't, it's not, I'm not a fan of like, oh, if I'm good things will happen. If I'm bad things will happen. But I do think that we can see, it can illuminate what might be sitting there for us to pay attention to. And that's why our brains can create story, but our bodies tell a very, very different one.
Right.
And, knowing not only that you say, I've been banging on this wall that I shouldn't be, pushing to, hey, how do I actually go towards what is for me? And then when you allowed your body to naturally do something, then you felt sensation in your legs.
For sure. And I feel so good right now.
Right. Well,
this is why we pay her the big bucks, y'all. Look at this.
Not true.
Got free.
This is oh God, no, I hope that regardless of our laughter and our interesting content, I hope that in this you can sense the way that you can get your own information. Like Ashley's got a lot of information. Yes, I was able to help her and kind of unpack it and notice and pay attention, which is why I say having a facilitator or a practitioner is really important. Because I would miss it. So I will miss things in my own body as I'm tracking and as I'm noticing, because sometimes we get lost in it. But, to be able to utilize more information than just our thoughts, because while those things are damn helpful, they are also a damn hindrance. And our bodies can give us more information. It's not that I believe one necessarily is better than the other, but if those two things can communicate more clearly, and we have another wisdom source right here to help us be like, where am I holding myself back? Why can't I notice my legs right now? Being able to be inquisitive about that and curious about that, and to sit with it as it becomes available to you, and as you grow a capacity to do that. I just think Ashley and I, in both of our practices of working with the body, it guides us so much. Like I have to think so little about the work that I do, because it's her body that gave all the information in that. And then we just explore it together. I actually literally hear a squirrel clicking.
So listen,
I'm glad you're wearing tight pants. I can't get in. I hope this is not triggering for anyone who has ever actually had a squirrel in their pants.
Right.
I hope does not bring up any past trauma. But if you have questions on this, or if you have curiosities about this, you know where to find us. This is going to be a shorter episode today, just because we wanted to give you some insight into how this looks, how it works. We're going to break down some more stuff in the weeks to come. I know we've dabbled in some really light topics like shame and dissociation. So,
which is why this was helpful to keep it so light. But again, truly, I feel completely different than when I walked in. 100%. And to speak to what she said just really quickly about like having a facilitator, I can do some of these checks on myself for sure. And as you practice, it becomes easier 100%. However, I am also somebody who like ruminates. And so I would probably still be sitting here focused on how intense this line was and just not be able to go anywhere else. And so having that facilitator that's why it is so helpful.
Yeah. To be able to draw your attention to a different place. Like I guided her back to where it was neutral in her body, or she felt something different. That's a really important part of that. And you'll see that on some of the worksheets that are in the show notes. There is a dual tracking exercise that kind of helps your brain, and when you're tracking your body, do that. It's like, oh, where do I feel this? And then what else do I notice? Where's another sensation I can track? Instead of,
and we've mentioned this so many times, and we will continue to mention it, is like, this is an example of why it's not beneficial just to like sit in it, because I would still be here. It probably would be getting more intense,
right? The more that we focus on it,
I would be so worked up about why I was feeling this here, because it's different. Like I said earlier, I'm very good at knowing where my anxiety is and what that feels like in my body, and I can identify it and I can now work with it, but it's different. And so I would have been freaking out about that, of like, oh, I can help myself when I feel anxiety, but why can't I help myself now? Like I would be like just spinning and spinning and spinning. And it would have gotten, I would have been going more and more and more above my body instead of being able to drop back in. So remember that it's not, you don't have to just sit with it. It is what she said. It's the duality of, I feel this, and my whole upper body stayed neutral the whole time. And she was able to bring me back to that, to remind me.
Because trauma tends to tell us we're only having one sensation, like only one thing is happening. And you know what's so fascinating about our bodies is they are so dynamic. Like there's so much happening at once, and there are going to be spaces of resource or neutrality in your body that you can go back to. And again, this is like advanced practices here, obviously, and me, being able to facilitate that. But like anybody, you really can just start with what we talked about last week, is like just noticing where you feel something in your body. That's how we begin. And the fact that maybe you're even in a body. That's also where we begin. And sometimes that's just like, okay, there, I can feel my arms, I can feel my legs, and that's good enough for today. So knowing that you're at whatever stage of your journey you're supposed to be at, but that there are places that we can go to and unlock and get information from that will help us better understand our own selves and also come back. Like that's a big part of the work that we do is helping people, like we talked about in a couple episodes ago, helping people renegotiate the relationship that they have to their bodies and coming back to them as it becomes available to them. So all right. I hope that for you don't have, you dear listeners, any weird squirrel encounters for the rest of the time until we meet again.
Thank you for being here and listening to my squirrels in the pants story. Okay, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.